All right, everybody. We have my guest here, Lovely. Yes, I'm so happy that you are here. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to actually speak with you on today. I'll let Lovely go ahead and introduce herself to you all.
Yeah,
I ain't gonna get
yeah,
into too much. Go ahead.
yeah, yeah. Hey, everybody, all of my powerhouses out there. I am Lovely Marshall, founder of Lovely Is Your Story. And as we are getting into this podcast today about mental health, the reason why my company is called Lovely Is Your Story is because my story was more of a horror story. Nothing about it was lovely at all. And I wasn't anybody's inspiration. Nobody ever, I would feel like, would want it to have my life. And through prayer, God, and a series of affirmations, my amazing, incredible husband, it really has turned to Lovely is Your Story. Like these next few chapters that I've been living in, chapter 38,
Yeah.
it's been truly an incredible story. And so just excited to have this honor to be with you all today and talk about it. Like, how do you stay motivated? How do you deal with being a wife, corporate America, just
Ooh.
everything?
Okay. So where you from, Lovely?
I am from Kansas City, Kansas, not the Missouri side, just the girl from Kansas.
Oh my gosh. So, you know what's funny? When we mention Kansas, we always have to make that distinction
Yeah.
because,
Kansas.
yeah, no, I'm actually from
Oh,
Chicago.
oh, okay,
But
okay.
so I was talking to someone and I was like, okay, where you from? They was like, Kansas City. And I'm like, okay, because they like, no, not Kansas, Kansas City. I'm like, okay, I don't know the difference. What you
Yeah,
mean?
it's sort of like that St. Louis versus East St. Louis. You gotta
Yes.
let
Oh,
people
yeah.
know. You
You're
gotta
right.
let people know, right?
Yeah.
Like it's East St. Louis on the Illinois side versus the St. Louis on the Missouri side. Some
Hmm.
things going on.
Yes, definitely. I definitely know that East St. Louis distinction very well. My ex-husband used to go to Milliken, and that's near
Mm.
Decatur,
Yeah,
Illinois.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes, yes. Uh-huh. So, oh my gosh, that was a thing. It was a
You're right.
huge thing. Okay, okay. So, Kansas City,
Kansas.
Kansas. Let me get it together. All right. So I want to know what would you say you are rooted in? Like, what are your roots? What do
Mm.
they look like growing up in Kansas?
Mm. I feel like my roots is family. Like when we were growing up, and I talk about this with my kids, like it was truly family. It was cousins. Like you didn't have friends because your cousins were your first friends. And that was a good and bad thing. I mean, if all you know is your family, then what else can you be able to see? If your family, they've only made $100,000, but you could have friends who made 100 million, then you're stifled. And I'm so grateful for my family. They are incredible people, but I was listening to someone else talk about this and they were like, how sometimes you just outgrow your roots.
Ooh.
Your roots may be it, but once you come up and you sprout and you go out, you no longer have those same things. And I am grateful that I had the courage to be even here with you today and, learn more about you and your podcast and following. But I wouldn't have had that had I stayed in my roots. I needed to sprout. I needed to branch out. I needed to be pruned, have some things fall away from me in order to do it. And people, in order to grow, you need the rain. That
Yeah.
rain don't feel fun though. When
Mhm.
it's
Mhm.
raining and you are being planted other places, it is rough. So yeah, family was the root of where I was. And now I believe I am sowing more seeds of greatness instead of just being planted.
I like that. Sowing more seeds,
Mhm.
definitely, and outgrowing roots. I was just watching a TikTok the other day,
Mhm.
and someone stated like you know how people always like to say top three things to be successful, but one of them was actually to leave your hometown. Um, and I was wondering why this just stuck out to me so much, but he stated that some of the people in your hometown actually do not think big enough. They don't think big enough. So if you stay there, you're going to stay small minded. So you should move. And yeah, so it's just interesting that you mentioned that. Hmm.
Girl, the fact that you said that,
Yeah.
like, that is, listen, like, that is so important. So I grew up in
Mhm.
Kansas. I live now in Houston, Texas. That's 700 miles of where I grew up. And it was painful, but you are so right. The amazing people who I now am networking with, and even the conversations that we're having, the fact that this podcast is dedicated to mental health in our community,
Yeah.
like, that's not something that you talk about. You're just like, oh, that
Mhm.
person, she crazy, she
Yeah.
this. No, like, there are some deep rooted things that are within us that hold us back, that our families control a bit of if we don't move outside of our comfort zone. Because that's all it is. It's
Yeah.
just a comfort zone. And it could definitely be uncomfortable moving
Yeah.
away from that.
Yes, for sure. And me leaving Chicago to come to
Mhm.
Texas, that's
Mhm.
16, 17-hour drive. Oh my gosh. But once getting here, I realized the opportunities that I opened myself up to, the new people, and like you said, the networking. It made the move that much worth it. So yeah, I definitely
Mhm.
understand that. And with those connections, how do you feel when it comes to people's openness to receive you coming from another place? How do you feel about that?
People ability to receive you. I feel like it's so much easier to receive something new
Yeah.
than the old. Even my husband and I were talking about that because we're high school sweethearts. And we were like, the man that he is today is
Mhm.
not even the man that he was the beginning of 2024. Like when we started 2024, he was like, I'm gonna still work, I'm gonna do this. And now he's like, no, I'm trying to build a business and I'm trying to do that. And it's so, so, so hard to see people change. I literally I made a post about this where I was like, people will tell you you change and they'll use it as a weapon. Like, oh,
Mhm.
Vaughn, she changed.
Yeah.
What? We don't,
Yes.
like we
Yes.
don't want her anymore because
Yes.
she changed.
Yes.
Not recognizing that seasons change, the
Yes.
weather changed,
Yes.
time change, year change, everything. We change our clothes, everything else we can change
Yes.
besides ourselves. We're supposed to
Mhm.
say that same thing, like I have to stay in this box that you
Mhm.
created for me.
Yeah.
But when it's new opportunities, like I have no idea of who you are. You tell me you 100 millionaire. You tell me you have the greatest podcast in the world. But But if my friend tells me that, I'm like, girl, who you think you are? Like, what?
Mhm.
You can't
Mhm.
do that.
Yeah.
It's our own limited beliefs that
Mhm.
we have because I only knew you here.
Yeah.
So I can't accept of you then. Like, I literally was like, I made a post about that. I am so sick of people saying, I remember you when. I
Mhm.
remember when you had nothing. I remember this. I
Mhm.
remember you don't even know the woman who I was. You do may remember that, but this woman who I am now, you can't even speak to. We don't even have the same conversations. And I think that's a part of our mental health journey, that
Yes.
evolving of being able to acknowledge that we're not the same. We're not even the same people who we were. 12/30/2024, who
Yes.
you was 12/30 of 2023. I can't even imagine. You were just, we were having a whole conversation, y'all, about
Mm.
the great things that she did and what she's looking to do. That
Yeah.
wasn't even things that you may have even entertained a year ago.
Yep. Yep. That is so true. Those limiting beliefs. And
Mhm.
I talked to a friend about this and how sometimes we self-sabotage, but then
Mhm.
again, think about it. Also, it could be others in our environment who are also
Mhm.
sabotaging us, and we don't even know it because, that's just them. They're so crazy. They say stuff like that.
Right.
But
Right.
no, it actually becomes your truth. It sticks in your head,
Mhm.
and you start to believe you can't do certain things because someone else
Mhm.
said it so. So I'm
Mhm.
so glad that you brought that up. And I want to know, based off of childhood, how do you feel? Because we're going to go back. How do you
Mhm.
feel you have been poured into in your childhood to be able to do
Mhm.
the things that you are doing today? Or what would you
Mhm.
say your experience is when it comes to you fulfilling your full potential?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh man. Okay, we gotta go back. So I am a daughter of my father who has five girls, and I'm right dab in the middle, like right dab, two older, two younger. And it was like Muhammad Ali. Like I have always been like, I'm my dad's most beautiful daughter, and I'm my mom's favorite. I
Yeah.
don't know where I got that from, but always, I've always done that. I always felt like whenever we would be at church and stuff, like I did feel like I was my dad's most beautiful daughter. Like people would be like, I love your smile and all of this.
Mm,
So I have a completely different complex than my
mm,
sisters. The things I dare to do, like I
mm,
left my job at Facebook making over a half a mil, and the
mhm,
people are like, "Are you crazy? Like, what are you
mm,
doing?" But then they'd be like,
mm.
"Oh, that's just her. Like that.
Yeah.
That's just how she just always been. I've always been daring. I was the first one moving to Houston, but I do think it's that roots, and it could have been when I was just a kid that I
Mhm,
don't even have those memories, but of my mother and father like pouring into me that
mhm.
helped me to be this way. Like we were talking on another podcast about how a Sunday speech, it's Christmas time.
Yeah.
And remember, growing up, you had to do the Sunday
Mhm,
speeches, for
mhm,
Christmas and
mhm,
talk about these things. I had to do this in a church full of 200 people, and they cheered me on. So
mhm.
now, when I can talk to you as a podcast, I'm like, "Oh, this is nothing," because I did this when I was 5. And it's those things as a
Mhm.
kid that
Yeah.
really does shape you into who you are that you
Mhm.
didn't even realize on Sundays, those Easter Sundays, and you singing in the choir, that it was preparing you to be on stages and being
Yes.
accepted.
Ooh, ooh, yes. Oh, definitely. Um, it's so funny. It's ironic because when I do
Mhm.
group therapy, and we talk about how their childhood has shaped them, and you
Mhm.
think about some of the things that they say today, and then you kind of tie it back to what they
Yes,
stated. Oh, this is why you can't do this
yes,
because of that.
yeah.
Yeah. And that's
Mhm.
amazing that you bring that up because singing in front of the whole bunch of people, doing speeches in front of a whole bunch of people, I can only imagine how nerve wracking that would be
Mhm.
for like someone else who maybe wasn't poured
Mhm.
into or who weren't
Mhm.
given that encouragement. So
Mhm.
yeah, it definitely starts from childhood.
It does.
Have you ever faced any adversity that may have made you think like, oh, I don't know about this. Like this might be a little bit hard.
Oh my God. How about, I mean, we are two black women on this podcast. I mean, can we start there?
Yup, yeah.
So absolutely, adversity. I think what really saved my life was I was it's just so sad for no
Mhm,
reason. I felt like, but you know how you just sad, like you can't explain it. It's a dark
mhm,
cloud.
Yeah.
I was always sick. I hated everything, everybody. I couldn't even celebrate. Like I'd be like, "Who mine? What? I got? I'm not. I would never like. Who
Yeah.
does she think she
Yeah.
is?" It just, it was
Yeah.
something that was just in me that was unable to celebrate others. Like,
Mhm.
if it wasn't me, then I didn't want you to have it. And I didn't even want it. Like, I wouldn't even I don't want a
Mhm.
podcast. I want a
Yeah.
BMW, but oh, you got your BMW. Like, I just,
Yeah.
it was something on me. I don't know what it was, but that I feel like was my biggest adversity. Not
Mhm.
being challenged with the fact you're a Black woman in America, not being
Mhm.
challenged being a single mom. I think it was my lack of gratitude and my lack of celebration for other people's success. That
Mhm.
was my biggest adversity and what changed my life. And I really do like, I hope, I don't really hope that I meet a lot of people, but I
Mhm.
really do hope that I meet like these two individuals was Steve Harvey
Mhm.
and Rhonda Byrne. And Rhonda Byrne has this book called The Secret, and she did this big movie, but
Mhm.
her spin-off book is called The Magic. And it's 28 days of you writing just different things. It's you
Yeah.
being thankful for your health. It's you being thankful for relationships that went wrong.
Yeah.
And that changed my life. Like,
Yeah.
it was like, why I don't have to feel sad for them. There's billions of people out there,
Yeah.
and I could have an opportunity too.
Yeah.
And that was really the story from a horrible lifestyle to it being lovely is your story because of Steve Harvey saying that he has 300 goals and wanted different things and then Rhonda Byrne doing this 28 days. It was just 28 days of
Mhm.
writing things down that you were grateful for. Yeah,
Okay.
my car broke down, but I'm grateful that I made it home safely. I'm
Yeah.
grateful I had food to eat. It was just
Mhm.
those things that really, really
Yeah.
helped me to overcome every other adversity because then when things came and my boss was awful or somebody didn't pick me or somebody said something
Mhm.
negative on my post, I'm like, well,
Mhm.
I'm thankful for the 20 people that did read it and said
Yeah.
things positive. It
Yeah.
changed everything. And
Mhm.
I still do it to this day. That was
Mhm.
10 years ago. And I will still read that book, still listen to Steve Harvey, just
Yeah.
trying to do positive things that just
Yeah.
affirm greatness within me.
Yes. Thank you for sharing. First of all, thank you for sharing those resources. And I've definitely been there before.
Mhm.
Growing up, that's where I learned it from though. Growing up.
Mhm.
So I'm wondering where did that come from? Those thoughts in that dark cloud. Like what do you think happened? Like got
I
you in that.
think
Mhm.
honestly what happened is a series of failures. I felt like, but they say don't say failures, they were lesson learned, but at the
Mhm.
time it felt like failures.
Yeah.
I remember being in the ninth grade and being told the speech of look to your left and look to your right and
Mhm.
1 to 3 of you all will not make it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, that's not gonna be me. That's not gonna be me. And then being told again, 1 to 3 of y'all will have a baby. And I'm like, no, that's not gonna be me. And
Mhm.
1 to 3 of you all will not do this. And it just kept being that drilled into you.
Yeah.
You will not make it. You will not be a success.
Yeah.
So everybody's like, oh, there's this one moment. No, it's not one moment.
Mhm.
It's a series
Yep.
of moments of being told, just like a series of moments you're pouring into people,
Yeah.
you're hearing people's stories, you're encouraging
Yeah.
them. So then when
Yeah.
you go through things, you feel better. But when you are being constantly told you're
Yeah.
not good enough, you will never be good enough,
Yeah.
then life happened. I failed nursing school. I had two
Mhm.
kids and I was 22 with two kids under two. And I'm
Yeah.
like, what the heck? I'm not married. What am I doing with my life?
Mhm.
So then that's what happens. Those dark clouds naturally happen. I'm being evicted and I'm getting my car repossessed. Who wants better after that? Like, then
Mhm.
that's where you feel like this is all that this is. This is all that
Mhm.
it's ever going to be.
Mhm. Yeah. And that's tough. That is really tough to
Hmm.
go through. And I like how you stated before then about that gratefulness that you would
Hmm.
have, just looking at it on the ladder. but then knowing
Mhm.
also that before you didn't already have that, you more so
Mhm.
kind of found that through the use of
Yeah.
resources. That is
Yeah.
amazing. That takes a lot to actually go
Mhm.
ahead and say, I'm pulling myself out of this hole.
Mhm. Mhm.
I cannot stay here at all
Yeah.
whatsoever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think it happened, like we said, series of events. It happened
Mhm.
because I left my hometown. And then I
Mm.
got with people who are in Houston, Texas, and I'm like, dang, y'all doing wait, what?
Yeah.
Y'all don't want just $12 an hour. Y'all want to make 50,000? And then y'all
Yep.
want to make 70? And it
Yep.
was just like more and more and more. And they were like, okay, all right, I'm at 100K. And I'm like, oh my gosh, she at 100K. I
Yep.
could be at 100K.
Yep.
All right, now
Yeah.
I'm at 200K. All right, the next step is, 500K. It just was,
Yeah.
like you said, the series of events that was bad because that was all I was around. So that's all I
Yep.
seen.
Ooh.
But then when I'm around people who are making more and doing more, like literally the other day, me and my friends was like, okay, what y'all doing? Y'all got y'all job interviews, y'all got y'all things lined up. This year we gonna be at Essence. We gonna be featured
Ooh.
at Essence. Like, like we
Yes.
we talking to each other,
Yes.
filling each other up versus saying like,
Mm.
we gonna be in Miami for a weekend. No, we are
Mm. Mm.
uplifting each other, like
Mm.
really doing those things
Yeah.
versus, like I said, not thinking about you. The people who I would talk about, be like, oh, Vaughn got her podcast. Like,
Yeah.
why would Vaughn think,
Yeah.
now I'm like, oh my God, Vaughn has her podcast. Now I need to tell other people about Vaughn
Mm.
podcast and I need to give Vaughn
Yeah.
more guests. It's just
Yes.
that mind shift
Yeah.
because I'm
Mhm.
around different individuals.
Yes. Ooh, ooh, you are saying a word. Just a little reflection on
Yeah.
everything that happened this year. So
Yeah.
much has happened to me this year, and
Mhm.
um, realizing that the people that I was surrounding myself with, I actually talked about this on another episode, but the people I was surrounding myself with, same thing, similar to what you were saying, like those negative thoughts and those negative beliefs and kind of just keeping you just there, calling for, like you said, going to Miami for a weekend, no talks about this is what we're going to do with our business. But more so, this is what we're going to do with so and so and da da
Right.
da
For the
da.
gram. Y'all do it for the gram, right? Like,
I like that. And I think that as Black women, sometimes we kind of get caught up in different things, and some it just it costs nothing to build up one another. Like it costs nothing at all, which is why when I met Jade. She's so amazing. Oh my gosh, energy
shout out
match.
to Jay. Shout out
Yes,
to Jay.
she
She connected
jam.
us.
Yes, yes, she jammed because her energy, like it's like, oh my gosh. So people like that, and I want to pour into them as well. So I'm so glad that you are bringing that up because we need more of that. We need more of that. Not too much on the instant gratification, but more so the
Yes.
elevation, like the long
Yes.
term.
Elevation. Okay. You
Yeah.
gave me a new word.
Yes, yes, yes. But it is amazing. And
Mm,
that's why I'm happy that I did meet you
yeah.
through
But
her.
it's because
Yeah.
you did the podcast though,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
it was literally you having a podcast and I did a post. I was like, hey, I'm looking for podcasts. And she was like, you should be on this one. I was like, wait, what?
Ah,
You
this is
know?
amazing.
But
Yeah.
it would have never happened had you started your own journey.
Yeah.
That
Yes.
you literally was like, I had this pain just like me. My company
Mm.
started because I know people want to change a different story, but it started with you though.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jay could have never connected us if you didn't first start it.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate you. And I want to get into your podcast. What does
Mhm.
that look like?
Yes.
Because I don't meet too many people who are also podcasting. And like you stated
Mhm.
earlier, before we got on about the mentorship and things like that,
Mhm.
that's something that love surrounding myself with people with bright
Mhm.
ideas. And
Mhm.
I love your energy. So I do want to talk about your podcast.
Mhm.
Like, can you
Yeah.
share a little bit more about that?
Yeah, yeah. So my podcast is called The Powerhouses of the Global Corporate Stage, and it's literally about corporate inspirations. I have met some incredible people. A lot of people know that I went from nursing school failure to getting a job at Facebook without a degree. And
Hey.
so then a lot of people was like, "Oh my God, like I want to, I want to get to Facebook and stuff." And after I got so many people to Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram and Google, then I was like, dude, a lot of people in my network that people
Mhm,
really want to work at these jobs. Like people want to work at Amazon and Microsoft and all these big name companies,
mhm,
and they just don't know how to get there.
yep,
And then
mhm,
it was like, oh, well, people want to be professors for colleges.
mm,
So it really became of answering the most Google questions about like, how do I get a job at Facebook? How do I
mm,
become a mobile engineer? How do I become a business analyst? What does a business analyst do? How much money
mhm,
do they make? So
mhm,
I'm literally taking the questions that people ask on Google that they're looking at YouTube for, and I'm just giving it to them in the interview, answering all of the questions that people have. And I think what's so encouraging that I
mhm,
learned through this, and I think that you're learning this too through the podcast, is everybody really has their sad days, their
mhm,
moments where they felt like giving up, that they
mhm,
got rejected,
yeah,
and they
mhm,
still got the job.
yes,
Like
yeah,
the guy who works at Instagram as a mobile engineer, like it's not just the computer engineer, they're mobile engineer, so they make double money than the
yep,
computer engineer. He got
mhm,
rejected 3 times from Twitter, Facebook, and Google. And then he ended up working at Instagram after those 3 times,
that's
making
amazing,
over a
that's
million
amazing,
dollars. It's just, but
amazing,
we don't see that though. We don't see that
mhm,
negative process. We see,
yeah,
like you said, we see Lovely and we see her energy, but it's like, no, I was at the point of suicide, not just myself, but I'm like, I don't want my kids to live without me. So we just all gotta go to being here, being able to encourage people, and people just see this moment. They
yeah,
don't look back at that journey. And I really just
mhm,
appreciate you because you're giving people to see the journey of what we're
mhm,
going through. And mental health is truly a journey that we all
yeah.
have to go.
Yes, and I appreciate you for touching on that just a bit and talk. I had a couple guests on who have
Mm,
mentioned that and their stories with that those thoughts
mm,
and also almost the action, and so
mhm,
um, I definitely can see like how it can be really really hard to get to that point,
mhm,
even talking to the teenagers that I speak to and
mhm.
the 11-year-olds and 12-year-olds who also feel the same way and they have
Wow.
that pain as well. So I want to know what brought you out of that part of it too, those thoughts that you had.
Um, I feel like, you know how most people are like, they think about things and they say like watch your thoughts because they become your words, watch your action, all of
Mhm.
that. Um, I kept just saying like death has to be better than this. I was saying it. I just kept saying it because again, this is my life is a horror story.
Mhm.
Um, and I was like, I don't want my kids to have to live through this. And so I was just like, God, if you want me to live, you will save me because I can't.
Mhm.
It's just sometimes where you are just at the point where everything is just going so wrong that
Mhm.
there is no hope. Like there is no hope. There's no being grateful. I just couldn't see past it. I really couldn't see past all of the nonsense. And the
Mhm.
night that I was gonna do it, I got invited to a dinner. I call her my godmother. I got invited to dinner for tacos. She kept calling me because I was like, this is the night. I'm gonna do it. Like my family will find us. And I was like, God, if you want me to live, I need you to save me. And she called me over, and her message to me, because it was like right when text
Mhm.
messages was coming out. she was like, I just need to see you. I need to hold you and I need to see you. And I was like, oh my God, somebody does see me. God, you do see me. You do
Mhm.
hear me.
Yeah.
And since that moment, I was like, I'm not gonna do this again. It will get better. I don't know how it's gonna get better, God. I just know that it will get better. And so that's when I found out about like Steve Harvey. I found out about like other people who have been homeless and they made it and other people's
Mhm.
stories. So it was people just constantly reassuring me that it will get better. Like, I know all you see is this, but it will get better. And so I
Mhm.
just started to just be more grateful about everything. I ended up marrying my husband who is the father of my children. Like it ended up getting like better and better and better. But for a while, you don't see
Yeah.
past it, and I
Yeah.
think that's what these kids may be too. Like, they're 11, they're like, "This is bad, and it can't get
Yes.
any worse," especially at
Mhm.
11,
Yeah.
because we feel like 30 years old, you
Yeah.
old, you about to die.
Yeah.
So, if that's all that I see and that's all I feel, then that's that moment that you, like, had, and I feel like I was stuck in one moment for a few
Mhm.
years and I just couldn't see past it. But that one night, I really believe that God like heard me and he
Mhm.
used her as a vessel to like pull me out of it.
Yeah. Yes. That sounds like such an emotional story, like rooted
Mhm,
in a lot of pain. Um,
mhm,
And when I think about the kids that I work with,
mhm,
how they don't have control, and it sometimes seems
mhm,
like we do have control of our
mhm.
circumstances, but stuff just be happening. Like we don't even,
Yes,
we don't have any control. But for them, they gotta listen to mama and daddy. So
yes,
it seems a little bit, for them, they just feel that double. Like they just
yes.
do not like there's no
Mhm,
control. Like
mhm,
I don't have free will or nothing. So to
mhm.
hear you even say that as an adult too is, it's it is it seems like it was a lot.
Yeah,
And that
yeah.
you were in a tough spot. Um
Mhm.
yeah, so
Yeah, which
I'm
is why I feel
mhm,
like with your podcast, I was listening to you and someone was talking about like just checking up on people.
mhm,
Like, just the simple things. She just literally all she did, she was cooking and then she invited me.
yeah.
So now I try to do that. Like, if somebody's on my mind, I would be
Mhm,
like, you know what? It's a reason why they're on my mind. I don't know what they're going through. I just want them to know, like, hey, you are on my mind, that I love you, that I'm thinking about you. Because had she not followed God, I wouldn't be here. Like,
mhm,
I know how I felt like even now I'm feeling that moment that I was feeling because it was just so sad. It was just
mhm,
so much going on.
yeah.
And it literally was a text message. That's all. Like, and
Yep.
so we think we got to do something big,
Yeah.
elaborate,
Yep.
a
Yep.
simple phone call,
Yep.
a simple email. If you even post something, like you posted things the other day, it was just a positive like what do you call it, positive quote. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh my God, like I needed that day. Like I just wasn't feeling motivated. I wasn't feeling it. You get tired. You like, are you doing
Mhm,
it? Are the people listening? Do
yeah.
people care? You get
Yeah.
5 likes, you think
Yes.
something gonna blow up, and it's like, I just quit. And it was that you posted something was
Mhm.
probably for you, but it benefited me. And
Yeah.
those little things do matter. So I hope like that's what people get out of this.
Yes, and I appreciate you for that. I really, really do. And sometimes the journey, and I'm pretty sure you're aware of that, it can be a little
Mhm,
discouraging, especially
mhm,
when you feel like people aren't listening. And
mhm,
you talked about God. So in my journey, of course, getting stronger in my faith, it definitely helped a
mhm,
lot when it came to my podcast as well as my family,
mhm,
because seeking a lot of external validation, which was an issue. And I mentioned this on a previous episode.
mhm,
So, and I know how, when you feel like no one is listening, how much you probably want to just give up, just quit. You think it's
mhm,
better than just, okay, well, I might as well stop the podcast.
mhm,
then,
mhm,
So, have you ever had that moment where, you feel like, okay, what am I doing here?
Right, right. Every day. I feel like that's like an everyday moment where I'm like, does this really matter? Like, what am I
Yeah.
doing? Like, does it really matter?
Yeah.
I feel like you said, it's that validation
Yeah.
that we all seek. And it's not to the point of like giving up, but you want that validation. I mean,
Yeah.
like, if I post something out, I want someone to say, like, wow, I love this. I want them to
Mhm.
heart it,
Mhm.
but what helped me get out of that
Yeah.
was my own self liking it.
Yep.
I'm like,
Yes.
hey, I posted this,
Oh my God.
and guess what, girl? I like that. And I will go back and I will be like, I'm so proud of you for even stating this. It has been so freeing. So it's not the external validation, it's just me now that's
Yes.
doing it. And I tell people, like, dude, don't be afraid. Like your own post,
Yep.
heart your own post. Just
Yep.
comment on your own stuff. Be like, girl, I'm proud of you for today for doing that. Guess
Mhm.
what? You made it through another day. You didn't kill nobody. You didn't shoot nobody.
Yeah.
Just be that.
Yes, and I appreciate you so much for sharing that. I want to know if possible, and I'm kind of opening my mouth because I'm like, I was just thinking this in a dream. It's so, oh my God, it's so crazy that you say this because I was thinking reasons why I like my own post. Well,
Mhm.
one, I'm proud of myself. And so you mentioned that. Lovely said it here, y'all. Like your own post because
Yes,
it
like
can do wonders for your mental, your internal
your own
validation.
mental,
Yeah.
just your own mental thing, because you created it.
Yeah.
Like, if I didn't like your post and you did, you created that. That was inspiration from you. So,
Yeah.
like your own post, heart your
Yeah.
own post, and comment on your own post. Like, do your own thing, y'all. Like, it's okay. It's okay. The algorithm don't care. They just care that
Yeah.
somebody liked it, hearted it, and comment on it. They
Yep.
don't know that it's you versus somebody else. Like,
Yep.
you heard
Mhm.
this from somebody who worked on the product, not somebody else who saying that they know stuff. Like, I know inside secrets, just like
Yes.
your own stuff.
Yes. Yes. I want to know if I want to know. Okay. I want to know what's keeping you going today. What
What's
is
the
keeping you
keeping going
going?
today?
Mm,
Honestly, it's like the goals of like what is going to happen.
mm. Yeah.
Like I said, the difference between where I was at the suicide is I couldn't see anything past it.
Yeah.
There was nothing. It was like death just had to be better than this because this is all I seen. And now it's like, okay, for 2025, what 20 I gonna do and like
Mm,
what is gonna happen? Who
yeah.
people am I gonna meet? What
Yeah.
podcasts? What
Yeah.
stages? It's
Mm,
the excitement of
yeah.
what is to be.
Yeah.
And I really do believe like that's the difference. Like when people say I'm finding my purpose, a
Yeah.
purpose just is something that gives you a reason to live. What's your
Mm,
reason to live? Whether it's your kids graduating
yeah.
or you getting a promotion, that's a reason. Like,
Yeah.
that's a purpose. I have
Mm,
a purpose right now, whether it's a purpose of paying the bills, it's a purpose of preaching to people, it's a purpose of having a podcast. It
mm,
just gives you that meaning. Like,
mm,
the reason why you're here today, you like, hey, I got to be on this podcast. I got to
mm.
look good because it's
Oh,
a purpose. The
yeah.
purpose right now is the podcast.
Yeah.
And if we find those reasons, that really does help us get out of the funk. But it's our own reasoning, whatever that may be.
Yeah.
Whatever that may be, just write down for 2025. I'm challenging everybody to do this. Write down 25 things, just 25 things,
Yeah.
whether it's pay your bills on time. That could be something like, because you could be paying them late. Like, so now we want to pay them on time. Is it to go to the Beyonce concert? Like, that's a 25 thing, whatever it may be. Just write down 25 things to buy
Mm,
a new outfit, to
yeah.
go here. And it really does help you. It really, really
Yeah.
does. Like, even if
Mhm,
you get to three of those things off the list, you wrote it down. And that's
mhm,
three things you get to like scratch off.
mhm.
So that's my thing. 25 things for 2025 for people. That
I
helps
love
your
that.
mental health.
Yes.
That really, really does.
I love when my guests leave affirmations for people.
Ooh,
Yes. So if
mhm,
you can do one thing, and I appreciate you for
mhm,
sharing everything you shared
yeah,
today, I'm pretty sure that you have inspired somebody who is out there willing to just
mhm,
say, you know what, I'm giving up. I'm done with this
mhm,
podcast, or I'm done with
mhm,
this job. I just don't care
mhm,
anymore.
mhm,
What is some affirmations, or you can leave one affirmation that you would
mhm.
share with them so that they can keep going?
Yeah, absolutely. So the one that literally, as soon as you ask the question, is one that I say every day. And it's, I am enough. I
Mhm.
have always been enough, and I will always be enough. And
Mhm.
I think that just speaks it. Those three sentences, I am enough is one. I have always been enough, because look back on what we have done and, oh, if I would have done this, I would. No, you
Yeah.
have always been enough. And for your future, you will always be enough. So
Mhm.
that is an affirmation that I think not enough people say.
Yes, and thank you for that. How
Mhm.
can people follow you?
Yeah, so everyone can follow me on all social medias, TikTok, Instagram, especially LinkedIn. Keep at me on LinkedIn. It's I am Lovely Marshall. I am Lovely Marshall. That's it. Like at I am Lovely Marshall, and that's how you can find me.
Yes, and your podcast stuff is on there as well.
Yes,
Okay.
podcast is on there as well, the powerhouses of the global corporate stage. So if you are wanting to get a better job and you are in your current job, guess what? Somebody wants to get the job that you have now. So I would love
Mhm.
to interview you all. It literally is just a Zoom call. Like people, I think they think podcast and they get scared. It's just a Zoom call, y'all. A Zoom
Yes.
call where we gonna talk and have a great time, and then we just get a chance to share your story with the world.
Yes. Well, I thank you so, so much for being here. Thank you so, so
Yeah.
much for being
Thank
here.
you. Thank you so much.
All right. Have a good day, okay?
You
Oh,
too.
Happy
Bye-bye.
New Year. Oh my
Ha-
gosh.
2 days, y'all. 2 days. What we doing? 25 things in
Yes.
2025. Happy New Year, everybody.
Yes. Yes.
Every day is the new year.
Mhm. Oh yeah, most definitely. See you later.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.